The Old Rose Villa. A children's book by Tuula Pere. Summary. The Old Rose Villa is a magical place with layers of memories. Young Mihir helps his father carry bricks at its construction site and dreams of someday living there. Years later, he becomes the owner of the magnificent home that affects and shelters many people's lives. Will the call of the villa eventually become so strong that Mihir returns to his roots? Pages 2 and 3. Mihir had a long journey from the mountains to his school in the valley. Many of his friends couldn't come along every day, so he often had to walk a difficult and dangerous path alone. Mother and father encouraged Mihir to go to school, despite the difficulties. "I hope you don't have to collect tea leaves in the mountains from morning to night when you grow up," his mother said, looking at her own hard fingertips. Father gently stroked his son's back. "I'd hate to see your back bend like mine from carrying heavy loads of bricks on construction sites," he said. Pages 4 and 5. Mihir liked going to school. He wanted to get a good job with a decent salary someday, with which he could help his parents. His teacher encouraged the talented boy. "You will be successful in life," she said. However, walking to school was a major concern. The children of the mountains had to cross a fast-flowing river at the bottom of the gorge. They often encouraged each other by singing together as they crossed the old rope bridge. Walking alone, Mihir feared he would trip on the flimsy bridge, and his hands would let go of the slippery rope railing. Sometimes dark thoughts took over the boy's mind. What if I fall into the river and no one notices? At such moments, he looked at the trees on the opposite side and thought about father and mother. Pages 6 and 7. Mihir finished primary school. He had done so well that he got into the best secondary school in town to continue his studies with the support of a school fund. All help was very welcome because the family's income was not enough for the school fees and books. On his way home from school, Mihir often passed a construction site where his aging father was carrying bricks. Mihir stopped to help, but father usually hurried him off. "Your homework won't be done if you take time to carry bricks with me," father said, though he appreciated his son's helpful nature. The parents were proud of their talented son and pleased when Mihir continued his studies all the way to university. Finally, Mihir became a respected engineer who moved abroad. "Remember that you are always in our hearts no matter how far you travel," said Mother, wiping tears of joy from her eyes. Pages 8 and 9. Mihir was successful in his profession, but busy work kept him abroad. He rarely had time to visit his father and mother back home, but the faithful son wanted to take care of his parents. After saving enough money, he came for a visit and bought them a house in his old school town. "This is my gift to you two." Mihir showed them the big house. "Mother, you no longer have to pick tea for days, and father, you no longer have to carry loads of bricks. Now it's my turn to take care of you." Father looked at the villa in astonishment. "I carried bricks to this house when it was being built." Mother felt emotional while walking in the rose garden behind the house. "You must have remembered, Mihir, that I like roses, especially the ones that have the pale rose color of this house." "Look here, Mother." Mihir pointed at the sign at the gate that read, "The Old Rose Villa." Pages 10 and 11. The Old Rose Villa was a beautiful house. Mihir's elderly parents lived in its pale pink main building. A caretaker, Satvant, and his wife Satuya moved into the courtyard building with their son Babak. One evening, Mihir's parents were sitting in the rose garden under the shade of a lemon tree. "It feels strange to have servants," Father said to his wife. "I'm almost embarrassed." Satuya, tending a rose bed, overheard the conversation and couldn't resist speaking up. "You certainly deserve all this. You have raised a good son who thinks about the welfare of others," she said. "He helps with Babak's school fees, you know." Pages 12 and 13. Satvant also served as the villa's chauffeur. Although Mihir had chosen a handy little car for his parents, neither of them wanted to learn how to drive it. However, Father and Mother were happy to sit next to each other in the back seat, while Satvant drove through the bustling town streets or cruised peacefully along the riverbank. Maybe Babak will become a taxi driver or a car mechanic when he finishes school. He can read well and could surely learn all the traffic rules, Satvant told his passengers. Years later, his prediction almost came true. Once Satvant's eyesight was no longer good enough for driving, Babak became the villa's new driver. Vehicles don't last forever, though. One day the handy little car broke down and the villa needed a new one. "I spoke with Mr. Mihir over the phone. He asked me to select a new car for him," Babak said with pride in his voice. Pages 14 and 15. A wide, shiny turquoise car soon sat in front of the villa's garage. Babak was convinced that the vehicle he had chosen was top quality. "Rear seat suspensions couldn't be better than these," the young driver boasted as Mihir's parents climbed in. The couple wanted Satvant to join them for a test drive. After a moment's hesitation, he climbed into the front seat next to his son. "But remember, Dad, I'm the chauffeur now," Babak said after noticing how badly his father wanted to give his advice. "I don't need any tips." Mihir's parents nodded in understanding. That's how life is. Constant change and sometimes giving up the role of parent, Mihir's mother said wistfully. Pages 16 and 17. After many years and rainy seasons, it was time to repaint the villa. Mihir spoke to his mother on the phone about choosing the paint. "Would you like to change the color of the house, Mother?" "I hope the color will stay the same, at least as long as I live," Mother said in a quiet voice. "Of course. The villa will be repainted pale pink, the color of your favorite roses." Mother's quiet voice made Mihir worried. He started calling home more often from across the sea. He also visited on holidays to cheer her up. Ultimately, even the best treatment didn't cure his dear mother's poor health. Mihir had to say goodbye to her once and for all. Pages 18 and 19. After the funeral, the old Rose Villa was a quiet house. Father often paced around the garden and sat in his wife's favorite place. Father wanted to stay in the house, although Mihir suggested that he move abroad with him. "My place is here," Father said firmly. "I feel close to my wife when I look at the roses in the garden." Mihir made some arrangements in the villa. The faithful caretakers, Satvant and Satuya, moved to the main building, closer to Mihir's father. That way, they could take better care of him. The courtyard building also got new residents after Babak's marriage. In the following years, the young couple had many children, and the joyful sounds of life filled the villa. Mihir's father enjoyed the presence of the young family and sometimes played with the little ones in the garden. Pages 20 and 21. The caretakers and their family took good care of the old master of the house, but eventually his days came to an end. The children found him leaning over the roses in the garden. It looked like he was just sleeping. Babak was fetched to the garden. He understood at once that the master had died, and with his wife's help carried him inside the villa. Then Babak had to phone Mr. Mihir, because the old caretakers, Satvant and Satuya, could not bear to make such a sad call. Mihir wasn't surprised. His father had been weak for a long time. "I'll come soon and arrange everything. Just take care of your parents now," he said to Babak. Mihir was on his way to his homeland a couple of days later. He had to organize father's funeral and many other things at the old Rose Villa. But he felt surprisingly calm as he watched the clouds from the airplane window. "The villa's loyal residents will help me," Mihir thought. He could rely on that. Over the years, the old Rose Villa, with its caretakers, had become an important part of his life. Pages 22 and 23. When Mihir arrived at the villa, a surprise awaited him. The caretakers had put a portrait of his father on the couch in the living room. Until now, the painting had been on the wall of the upstairs hallway, because father had not wanted to show it to others. "We put your father in the best place," Satvant explained. "We miss him a lot," added Satuya. Mihir had bought the painting years ago from a respected portrait painter, although his father objected and did not like posing as a model. "I look like a head of state or some important boss, not myself," father had said humbly. Mihir decided to organize a big funeral for his father, as was customary in his homeland. All father's relatives and acquaintances were invited. It was nice to see everyone after so much time had passed. Mihir realized that he had missed these people. After the event, Mihir had a lot to think about. "I can't give up the villa," he thought, looking around at the beautiful yard. "Who knows? Maybe I'll settle down here for the holidays." Pages 24 and 25. Mihir had to return to his work across the ocean. However, he often thought about his distant villa and started calling its caretakers more often. Months after his last visit, Mihir received an unusual phone call. First on the phone was Babak, who told Mihir that his parents had an important matter to discuss. Next on the line was Satvant. "The truth is, my wife and I are no longer useful to you," Satvant confessed. "We are too old and weak to take care of the house. I can't even hold a shovel anymore, and my wife can't do the housework." Mihir had an immediate solution. "You don't have to move out. I can get some helpers to work in the villa." "No." Satvant tried to continue, but Mihir interrupted his sobbing. "You two cared for my father and mother when I wasn't there. Now I'll take care of you, and Babak will help." Pages 26 and 27. Babak took the phone from his father. "I heard what you said over the speaker. You're a good man. Thank you for your generous treatment of my family." The call continued for some time. Babak promised to keep everything in order in the villa. "I guarantee, Mr. Mihir, the villa will always be ready to welcome you for a visit or if you decide to move back." Mihir didn't believe that he would ever return permanently to his old homeland, but after the call ended, he began to think about his life. The years had gone by too quickly. In all the rush, he hadn't even had time to start his own family. "All my adult life, I have designed impressive machines for large factories worldwide," Mihir thought. and there are still plenty of important things to do here. Mihir passed the hall mirror. He stared at the image of a serious man with gray hair at his temples. Is that really me? Pages 28 and 29. Mihir often received updates about his villa across the ocean. After one tiring day at work, Mihir started to study a few photos more closely. The house seemed to be resting peacefully in the sun. It would be nice to take a nap under that lemon tree after a meal, Mihir thought. I'm sure Father's favorite bird is already building a nest there, singing all day. Mihir sighed and looked at another picture. Is the garden path in good condition? Are the roses in Mother's garden blooming? He thought. Soon the longing became overwhelming, and Mihir decided to travel to his old rose villa again. Pages 30 and 31. Mihir looked down from the airplane window. Sharp mountain peaks rose up through the billowing clouds. His mind was whirling with questions about his destination. What's new in my hometown? Is the old school building still standing? Do my friends in the mountains and the town still remember me? Mihir felt impatient. Finally, the plane started to descend, and he could see the familiar landscape dotted with fields. Babak was coming to pick up Mihir from the airport. The chauffeur had been deeply offended when Mihir said he would take a taxi. No way! Why do you think I take care of our turquoise car? Babak had insisted. The metal parts are shiny, and the leather seats are clean, and there are no complaints about the tires either. That should be fine for taking the masters of the house for a ride. Masters of the house? Mihir had thought with a small smile. I guess the caretakers still think of my parents as being there. Pages 32 and 33. After collecting his luggage, Mihir walked out of the airport building. A shiny turquoise car was waiting right in front of the main door. A glance at the back seat revealed why Babak had said, "Masters of the house." The portrait of Mihir's father sat behind the driver on a wide, well-sprung seat. It was secured with a seat belt and carefully propped up on pillows. I thought it would be nice for you if your father came along, Babak explained, driving the car with skill through heavy traffic. He nervously watched Mihir's expression from the rearview mirror. Was the visitor happy, or would he prefer sitting alone in the back seat? Mihir's face looked confused. Sometimes I take the old master's portrait for a ride with my father, too, Babak said quickly. We take the painting to places they once drove past together. Mihir looked into the eyes of the painting next to him. Could we go around Father's favorite route before going to the villa? Babak nodded. Pages 34 and 35. Mihir leaned back and enjoyed the familiar scenery. The road followed the clay banks of the river. Women were busy washing clothing and children splashed in the water, just like decades ago. Looks like my old school is still there, Mihir said. The happy cries of the children and the sounds of the nearby market took him back to the old times. His mind was full of longing, even for the years that had been heavy and difficult at times. All in all, his family had lived a very good life. His parents had often said so, too. Mihir remembered Mother's last words. Your father and I are thankful for you. You have always been a good boy. I hope you are happy, too. Sitting in the back seat next to his father's portrait, Mihir did indeed feel like a happy man. Pages 36 and 37. The turquoise car pulled up in front of the old Rose Villa, and the entire household gathered around it. A joyful commotion filled the yard. First, let's move the old master's portrait to its place on the sofa in the living room. Then we can carry Mr. Mihir's luggage inside, Satvant instructed. The little ones were curious to see Mihir's gifts, but their grandmother, Satuya, was determined. Let's have a proper meal first. I've set up the dining room for Mr. Mihir, and the rest of us will eat in the kitchen. We'll enjoy dessert together in the rose garden. The faithful cook wanted to keep old traditions in place while serving the festive meal. However, Mihir had his own idea. I can't sit alone at a long table with all the delicacies. Everybody is welcome in the dining room with me. There is plenty of room. The old caretakers didn't agree. That wouldn't be appropriate, but we can place the old master's portrait at the other end of the table to keep you company, Satvant suggested. Pages 38 and 39. However, Mihir wouldn't back down from his proposal to have a meal together. Finally, Satuya agreed. Well, just this time, to celebrate Mr. Mihir's homecoming, she said. Soon every villa resident had his or her belly full of delicacies prepared by Satuya and her daughter-in-law. At the table, there was a lot of talk about old times, too. Mr. Mihir, you were a good son to your parents, Satvant said. They told us that after school you often helped your father carry bricks at the construction sites where he worked. Mihir had some special memories of the old Rose Villa. Father worked on this villa, he said. I visited the construction site and thought that the people who would be living there were fortunate. That's why I later bought this villa for my parents. After eating dessert together in the garden, Baba carried his youngest child to sleep, and the old couple, Satvant and Satuya, went inside too, supporting each other. Mihir watched them go. Yes, happy people are living in this house even now, he thought, smiling. Pages 40 and 41. In the morning, Mihir woke up to the children playing in the garden. Sometimes Grandma Satuya had to intervene. Don't swing too high, Nasreen, she warned her eldest grandchild. Mihir opened the curtains and looked out. A curly-headed girl was singing on a swing hanging from a lemon tree. Mihir recognized the tune. It was the same song about wild roses that his mother had often sung when Mihir was just a little boy. The day could not have started better. After a delicious breakfast, Mihir decided to go to the market. I don't need a ride, he said to Babak, who offered to be his driver. It's nice to walk these familiar roads for a change. Pages 42 and 43. Just after entering the street, Mihir turned to look behind him. He had suddenly remembered a certain stone along the garden path. He just had to find the right stone. Here it is, Mihir said to himself. He was holding the same old lucky coin he had hidden beneath the stone long ago. Mihir walked along the dusty streets toward the market. The trip was longer than he remembered, or his legs weren't as strong as they once had been. He couldn't help but think about the lucky coin. I had a dream when I was helping Father with the bricks at the construction site as a schoolboy. I wanted to live in that beautiful villa myself one day. Mihir thought, now I own it, but I don't exactly live there. Thoughts spun in Mihir's head as he rubbed the coin. He felt lightheaded, almost dizzy. Was it because of the hot sun and the bustle of the market? Mihir was confused. Is it my turn to move to the old Rose Villa? Pages 44 and 45. In the afternoon, Mihir returned home with his shopping items. He had bought old favorites, nuts, puri bread, ripe mangoes, and honey. Satuya hurried outside to meet him with a cool drink. She had always cared for him as if he were her own child, and nothing had changed despite all the years that had passed. "Please, Mr. Mihir, sit down on a bench and enjoy this cool juice." A pleasant scent of roses drifted in the garden. Suddenly, Mihir realized that he could never give up this house. He would have to make a big decision soon. You have listened. The Old Rose Villa of the India series, a children's book by Dr. Tuula Pere, published by Wickwick, read aloud by Jessica, Virtual Voices of Wickwick Labs.